Have you ever smiled and nodded and said this big, enthusiastic yes to a dinner invitation while your entire body, your muscles, your brain, your very soul was just screaming a desperate, undeniable no?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all have.
Right. Or have you ever sat down, crafted a deeply thoughtful, emotionally vulnerable, beautifully worded text message to a friend, hit send, and then received a one-word reply like, cool, that completely crushed your mood for the rest of the entire day?
Oh, the dreaded cool text. It's a universal and honestly a deeply uncomfortable human experience.
Yeah.
We hand over our peace of mind so easily, almost on autopilot.
Exactly. And today we are going to learn how to stop abandoning ourselves. We will master the language of self-love, not through, expensive spa days or repeating fake mantras in the mirror, but through setting boundaries in everyday conversations.
Yeah, it is really about reclaiming your energy and your autonomy, one word, one sentence at a time.
So before we begin, here are the numbers for today. We are covering exactly 6 essential B2 and C1 vocabulary words to transform your emotional vocabulary, and 6 life-changing sentence upgrades to help you speak like a native while protecting your peace.
Which is fantastic.
It is. That is 12 total points of crucial learning. So welcome to English Learning Podcast for daily life, real conversation, and easy listening practice.
And whether you are a B1, B2, or C1 learner, this deep dive is absolutely for you. You don't need to understand every single word immediately.
Right, just let it flow.
Exactly. Just listen for the feeling, relax into the conversation, and remember that mastering a language is just like mastering self-respect. It takes practice, and your voice absolutely matters. So speak out loud with us today.
Okay, let's get right into the thick of it. What happens when we give the classic, tired person answer?
Oh, I know the one.
The sentence people say when there is absolutely a problem, when their battery is at 1%, but they pretend everything is entirely fine. Let's unpack the tired dinner mistake.
This is such a great starting point because this is where so many of our internal conflicts begin. The tired dinner mistake is really a foundational error in how we manage our own psychological well-being.
Okay, so picture this scenario. I think everyone listening has been here. It is Thursday evening. The week has been absolutely grueling.
You're completely exhausted.
Completely. You've been working all week, managing your household, studying English. You finally put on your comfortable clothes. You are sinking into the sofa. Maybe you have a cup of tea in your hands. The house is quiet.
Sounds perfect.
It is. And then the screen of your phone lights up. It buzzes. It's a friend asking to meet for dinner in an hour. Your instant, undeniable biological feeling is, I want to say no. I need to stay home.
But what do your fingers actually do?
Right. Without your brain even seeming to give the order, your thumbs automatically type, sure, no problem, see you there. Your body is incredibly unhappy, but your thumbs are just perfectly polite.
And the inevitable next step. You actually go to the dinner. You drag yourself out the door.
I do. I go to the dinner, I sit there at the restaurant, I smile, I talk, I even force out a laugh at their jokes. But inside, my internal monologue is completely detached from the conversation.
It's just playing on a loop.
Yeah, a loop saying, I should be home, I should be resting, I am so unbelievably tired, why did I do this to myself?
What's really fascinating here is the underlying psychology of that specific moment of disconnect. The gap between the mind screaming no and the thumbs typing yes.
Yeah. Why do we do that?
Well, it is widely believed by relationship experts and behavioral psychologists that in these moments, it is not that we dislike the other person. You love your friend.
Sure, I genuinely enjoy their company under normal circumstances.
Exactly. The core issue is that we just keep ignoring ourselves.
Yeah.
And we do this primarily out of a deeply ingrained fear.
Wait, let me push back on that for a second. Fear. That sounds, I don't know, so dramatic. When I send that text, it doesn't feel like fear. It just feels like I'm being polite.
That's the trick, though.
Right, because we live in a society, after all. Isn't it just about being a good, accommodating person?
That is the disguise it wears. And I'll admit, it is a very convincing disguise. We label it kindness, we call it politeness, but underneath, the driving mechanism is fear.
Really? Biological fear?
Yes. If we look at evolutionary biology, human beings survived by staying in the tribe. If you were rejected by the tribe, well, you didn't survive the winter.
Wow. Okay, so it goes deep.
It does. Our brains are hardwired to view social rejection as a literal threat to our lives. So the fear of disappointing someone, the fear of looking rude or uncooperative, or that deep-seated fear that if we say no, people will think we don't care about them, all that triggers a subtle survival response.
Wow. So I'm sitting on my couch and my brain essentially equates saying I'm too tired for pizza with I am going to be exiled to the wilderness and eaten by wolves.
Precisely. The anterior cingulate cortex in your brain processes social rejection in the exact same area it processes physical pain.
That is wild.
It is. Because of these subconscious fears, we become what you could call strict managers of our own energy, but with a very poor holiday policy.
Oh, I love that. That is a brilliant analogy. A strict manager with a poor holiday policy. Let's expand on that for our listeners for a moment.
Please do.
Imagine your brain is the CEO of a company and your body, your emotional energy, is the employee. The CEO keeps barking orders, work overtime, go to this dinner, answer this text immediately, help this neighbor move their sofa.
The demands never stop.
Right. And the employee, your physical and emotional energy is just pleading, boss, I need a day off. I am completely burning out. My systems are failing.
And what does the CEO say?
The CEO says, no holidays allowed. We have to keep the clients, meaning everyone else in the world, happy. It's objectively terrible management.
It really is the fast track to complete burnout.
Yeah.
You are giving little pieces of yourself away day after day until you feel chronically irritated, hollow, and sad, but you can't pinpoint exactly why.
Yeah, it's a heavy feeling.
Which brings us to our first essential piece of vocabulary for today. It is a B2 pushing C1 level word that perfectly describes this poor internal management. The word is neglect.
Neglect. Neglect. I know the basic definition, but let's dive into the nuance of it for our advanced learners.
Certainly. To neglect something means to ignore it, to fail to care for it properly, or to give it too little attention over a sustained period of time.
Right.
It actually comes from the Latin roots neg, meaning not, and leisure, meaning to pick up. So literally, you are choosing not to pick something up.
Oh, that's a great way to picture it.
You can neglect a house until the roof leaks. You can neglect a friendship by never reaching out. But in the context of our discussion, the most insidious and dangerous form is self-neglect.
How would we use that in an advanced sentence?
A sophisticated way to use this would be, I sometimes neglect my own needs in favor of keeping the peace.
I sometimes neglect my own needs. Let's talk about the feeling, the atmosphere of that word. Because to me, neglect isn't violent. It's quiet.
That's a very good distinction.
When you neglect a houseplant, you aren't actively destroying it, right? You aren't cutting its leaves off with scissors. It just slowly wilts. It loses its color, its structural integrity over weeks.
Yes, exactly. It's a slow fade.
That is exactly what happens to us when we go to that tired dinner. We are slowly wilting from a lack of care. And what do we culturally tell ourselves to do when we feel that wilting? We use a very common phrasal verb. We tell ourselves to push through.
Push through.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a vital phrasal verb for our learners to understand, especially regarding modern work culture.
How would you define it?
To push through means to force yourself to continue doing an activity even though it is difficult, physically painful, or you are deeply exhausted.
And society actively praises this.
Oh, absolutely.
If someone says, wow, she was running on 2 hours of sleep, she had a migraine, but she just pushed through and finished the project, it sounds incredibly heroic. We applaud people for ignoring their biological limits.
It sounds heroic on the surface, yes. But if we connect this to the broader picture of self-respect, constantly pushing through is just another socially acceptable form of neglect.
That's a harsh truth.
Consider this. If your best friend came to you and said, I am so exhausted, I feel dizzy, my eyes are burning, but I agreed to go to a noisy restaurant tonight, what would you do?
I would look at them with deep concern and say, absolutely not. Go to sleep. I will cancel the dinner for you. I would fiercely protect them.
Exactly. But when the person in the mirror is the one suffering, your internal CEO says, just push through, drink a double espresso, don't be lazy.
It's so wildly hypocritical. We're infinitely more compassionate to our friends than we are to our own bodies. Okay, let's take this realization and actually apply it to our language.
Perfect.
Let's do our first sentence, upgrade of the day. A B1 learner might experience this feeling of exhaustion and say something like, I always forget myself.
Which is grammatically correct.
Right, a native speaker will understand your meaning, but it doesn't quite capture the psychological depth of the adult experience, does it?
It really doesn't. It sounds a bit passive, almost accidental. To sound more sophisticated, to hit that B2 or C1 level of fluency and emotional intelligence, we want to transform I always forget myself into something that expresses routine behavior, accountability, and self-awareness.
So here is the upgrade. Listeners, instead of the simple I always forget myself, try saying, I often neglect my own needs.
Beautiful.
Or if you want a slightly more conversational but still advanced idiom, you can say, I keep putting myself last. Let's look at the imagery of that idiom, putting myself last.
This is a very visual phrase.
Imagine a line of people waiting to receive care, attention, or rest. You are actively walking past everyone else and placing yourself at the very back of the line every single time.
Yeah, it is a great visual. Let us ground this in reality with a conversational exercise, because everyday small talk, the kind that starts with discussing the weather or weekend plans, is precisely where these unwanted invitations trap us.
Oh, they always start with the weather.
Always. We need to practice the linguistic muscle of declining an invitation politely, warmly, but firmly, without neglecting our needs.
I love this. Okay, let's do a role play. I will play the role of the well-meaning, high-energy friend, and you play the person who is actually practicing self-love and setting a boundary.
I am ready.
Let's say we just ran into each other at the office after a long week. Ready?
Ready.
Hey, wow, it has been raining nonstop all week, hasn't it? Such gloomy weather. But listen, the sun is finally supposed to come out this evening, and a bunch of us from the marketing team are going out for drinks and dinner to celebrate. We'd absolutely love for you to come. It's going to be so much fun, and you've been working so hard.
Oh, it really has been a gloomy week. I'm so glad the weather is clearing up. That dinner sounds like a wonderful time. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have been pushing through a lot of exhaustion this week, and I've realized lately that I often neglect my own needs. I really need to put myself first tonight and just get some quiet rest. Let's definitely catch up next week, though.
Wow. See, as the listener, if I am your friend, I literally cannot be mad at that response.
It diffuses any tension.
It does. You validated my invitation, you agreed about the weather small talk, you were incredibly warm, but you stated your boundary using our advanced vocabulary. You owned your decision. You didn't give a flimsy excuse like, oh, I have to wash my hair, which just leaves room for an argument.
Exactly. It is kind, but it is clear. And clarity is a massive component of self-respect. When you use precise language, you leave no room for misunderstanding or negotiation.
Now, if you are listening to this right now, maybe on your commute or while you're making coffee, I want you to test how this feels in your mouth. You don't have to shout it, but just say it aloud to yourself right now. Let's do a quick pause break.
Good idea.
Take a breath and repeat after me. I often neglect my own needs.
Notice how that feels.
Just feel the gravity of making that admission. And then try the idiom. Repeat after me. I keep putting myself last.
Getting comfortable physically saying those words is the very first step to actually believing them and changing the behavior.
It is about aligning your spoken language with your internal psychological boundaries. The more you articulate it, the more real it becomes.
Absolutely.
But what happens when our peace depends entirely on someone else's reaction? We've talked about protecting our physical energy, but what happens when a single word on a screen can ruin your entire day?
The digital minefield of modern communication.
Prepare yourself for the famous friendship killer. It really is a minefield. Navigating text messages and group chats requires a map of its own.
It really does.
And speaking of navigating tricky territory, if you listeners want a map to better English, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, if you want to read an incredible, detailed article about English learning, go into the description box right now.
There's a lot of value there.
So much value. There, I have provided a specific link. If you subscribe just once through that link, you will receive a free, high-quality article in your email for free every single time we publish. We want to keep giving you these comprehensive tools to level up your English in your life.
So, returning to this digital minefield, let us explore this friendship killer you mentioned.
Right, the cool text. This is a scenario that makes my stomach physically tie in knots just thinking about it.
I think we can all relate.
Imagine you have a friend. Maybe there's been a little bit of unspoken tension between you two recently, or maybe you just want to share something deeply important and vulnerable about your life. So you sit down alone with your phone.
The scene is set.
You meticulously type out a long, thoughtful message. You read it 3 times to make sure the tone isn't overly dramatic, but it's very clear. You check the grammar, you take a deep breath, and you hit send. You feel this rush of pride because you communicated so effectively.
You have invested significant emotional labor into this single transmission of text. You have placed a piece of your vulnerability into the digital ether.
Exactly. And then you wait, you stare at the screen, the 3 little gray typing dots appear, then disappear, then appear again.
The anxiety builds.
Your heart rate goes up. Finally, the response comes through. You open it, fully expecting a thoughtful, equally vulnerable reply. And the entire message, staring back at you, just 4 letters, is, cool.
Ouch. It feels akin to a physical blow. The sudden drop in dopamine is jarring.
It really does. It feels like a slap in the face. And let me tell you what I did in this situation the last time it happened. I immediately, within 5 seconds, replied, "No worries," with an exclamation mark.
Oh, the classic overcompensation.
But internally, oh my goodness. Internally, I was hosting an international conference of worries. I was the keynote speaker at the anxiety convention.
A very busy conference.
My brain was racing. Are they mad at me? Did I overshare? Was I annoying? Do they hate me now? Should I apologize?
This reaction, the spiraling conference of worries, is a perfect psychological illustration of handing over the remote control for your mood to someone else.
A remote control. Tell me more about that.
Think about a literal television remote. Whoever holds that device decides what plays on the screen. When you send a thoughtful message and wait in terror for their response, you have metaphorically handed them the remote control to your own neurochemistry.
That is a terrifying but accurate way to put it. If they text back, "Wow, thank you so much for sharing," they press a button and the channel in my brain changes to the happiness and security channel.
Exactly.
But if they say, "Cool," they press a button and the channel instantly changes to panic and self-loathing.
Precisely. And we must explore the underlying mechanics of why this is so dangerous.
Yeah.
It is dangerous because other human beings are inherently unpredictable.
They really are.
They are living complex lives outside of your purview. They are busy. They are sleep deprived. Maybe your friend was literally walking into a high-stakes performance review with their boss when they read your text, and they only had a fraction of a second to type "cool" before silencing their phone.
I never thought about it like that.
Or maybe they are just fundamentally bad at written communication. If you need their specific praise, their precise validation to feel okay about your own existence, your peace of mind is incredibly fragile.
Let me play devil's advocate here, though. Wait, isn't it just mature to say, "No worries"? If I get genuinely angry and confrontational over a 4-letter text message, doesn't that make me the toxic, dramatic person? Shouldn't I just let it go?
That is a brilliant question, and it highlights a crucial distinction. There's a vast difference between genuine forgiveness and abandoning yourself to keep the peace.
Okay, what's the difference?
Genuine forgiveness happens when you acknowledge you are hurt, process the feeling, and decide the relationship is more important than the slight. But typing "no worries" while your heart is racing and you are feeling deeply rejected, that is not maturity.
What is it then?
That is a defense mechanism.
Yep.
That is fawning. You are prioritizing their comfort over your own emotional reality. As experts in emotional intelligence frequently point out, you can absolutely listen to other people's opinions. You can value their feedback, but you cannot let their transient reactions become the foundation of your identity. Your inherent value as a person cannot depend on one text message, one compliment, or one like on social media.
This brings us perfectly to our next crucial piece of vocabulary, which targets the absolute root cause of this fragile piece. The B2 word is approval.
Approval, it is a noun. In this psychological context, approval means the intense desire for someone to accept, praise, or validate you.
Like getting a gold star in school.
Exactly. It is the feeling of someone looking at you, judging your actions or your words, and giving you a metaphorical gold star. Yes, you did a good job. Yes, you are an acceptable friend.
And let's be honest, we all want it. It's a natural human drive. It feels good.
It does feel good, yes.
But when approval transitions from a nice to have into a strict requirement for your daily happiness, we enter the territory of a much more advanced C1 level psychological concept, abandoning yourself.
Abandoning yourself. Let us dissect the verb to abandon. To abandon means to leave someone or something behind entirely, usually in a state of danger, with no intention of returning.
Right, like an abandoned building.
Yes. A mother bird might abandon a compromised nest. A captain might abandon a sinking ship. But abandoning yourself means you look at your own needs, your own emotional truth, and your own comfort, and you leave them behind on the sinking ship, just to ensure that the other person feels comfortable and isn't upset with you.
That is devastatingly clear. So when I got the cool text and I reflexively replied, "No worries," even though I was deeply, deeply hurt, I was abandoning myself.
Yes, you are.
I was throwing my own feelings overboard to make sure my friend didn't feel awkward about their terrible reply.
Exactly. You made an unconscious calculation that keeping the external peace with them was more vital to your survival than maintaining internal peace within yourself.
Okay, we need to fix this linguistic programming. Let's look at our next sentence upgrade. A lower-level speaker might recognize this feeling of needing a gold star and say something simple like, I want people to say I am good.
Which, again, we understand the meaning.
We do, but it sounds almost childlike. We want to articulate ourselves like emotionally intelligent, sophisticated adults.
We want to capture the nuance of seeking external validation. So we transform the basic, I want people to say I am good, into our upgraded B2 or C1 variations.
Here is the first upgrade. Listen to how professional and self-aware this sounds. I often look for approval from others.
Very objective.
It is a clear, objective statement of your own emotional state. And here is the second, even more powerful variation. I am learning not to depend on other people's approval.
I want to draw attention to the phrasing there. I am learning. This is a fantastic C1 technique.
Why is that?
It shows this is an ongoing, active process. You are not claiming to have reached perfect enlightenment. You haven't perfected it, but you are actively working on it. It gives you grace.
If you are walking your dog right now or doing the dishes, just test out the power dynamics of these sentences. Let's do another pause break. Try saying to yourself out loud, I am learning not to depend on other people's approval.
Feel the shift in power.
Doesn't that just feel better to say? It feels like taking that television remote control back from the other person and putting it firmly in your own pocket.
It is a linguistic act of reclaiming your psychological autonomy.
So, seeking approval is dangerous. We know that now. The mechanisms are clear. But what about just being helpful? Surely doing a tiny, innocent favor for a friend is harmless, right?
You think so?
Well, here's where a small yes mutates into a mountain of quiet anger. Let's step into the favor trap.
The favor trap is perhaps the most insidious, sneaky way we lose our self-respect, precisely because it disguises itself as virtue and altruism.
Let's unpack the slippery slope of helping a friend. It always starts innocently. Let's say a friend texts you on a Saturday morning, hey, I know you were great at formatting. Do you know how to set up margins for a resume?
Very simple request.
Yeah, right. And you say, sure, I can help you with that. Just send it over. That's one small, contained favor. But then an hour later, they ask, hey, thanks so much. Since you have the file open, could you actually just read my cover letter too and check the spelling?
The escalation.
You want to be helpful, so you say yes. Then another message pings, actually, the second paragraph sounds weak. Can you just rewrite it for me? You're so much better at English than I am.
And suddenly,
before you know it, it is midnight, you haven't eaten dinner, your own weekend chores are completely ignored, and you are basically applying for a job on behalf of a 30-year-old adult. You are solving a massive problem that is absolutely not yours to solve.
let us deeply analyze the emotional and neurological arc of this experience. Initially, when they asked that first simple question about margins, it felt good to be useful.
It did.
Helping others triggers the release of oxytocin and dopamine in our brains, is the helper's high.
Yes. You feel competent. You feel like the hero of the weekend. Look at me. I am such a supportive, indispensable friend.
But as the boundary expands without your explicit, enthusiastic consent, or rather, with your passive, unspoken consent, the cognitive load increases, and a very dark, toxic feeling begins to creep into your mind. This brings us to the psychological concept of quiet blame.
Quiet blame. Oh, I know that feeling intimately. It's when you are typing the new paragraph for their cover letter, smiling at the screen, but in your head, you are having a furious argument with them.
Yes, the imaginary argument.
You are thinking, how dare they ask me to do this? They are so entirely selfish. They're taking massive advantage of my kindness. They have no respect for my weekend.
This is where we must encourage severe critical thinking and accountability. I'm going to challenge you here. Who is actually at fault in this scenario?
Whoa. Are you saying it's my fault? They're the one taking advantage of me. How's that my fault? I'm just trying to be a good friend.
This is the uncomfortable truth of boundary setting. Your friend asked, yes. And perhaps, objectively, they asked for far too much. But you are the one who agreed at every single escalation.
Well, I didn't want to be mean.
Because you didn't state your limits, you secretly blamed them for taking too much. But here is the mechanism you were ignoring. Your friend is not a mind reader.
That's true.
They cannot see your cortisol levels rising. They don't know you haven't eaten dinner. They just see a friend who keeps saying, sure, no problem. To them, you seem perfectly happy to do it.
Ouch. That is a really tough pill to swallow. So you're saying I am manufacturing my own anger. I am furious at them for crossing a boundary that I never actually communicated existed.
Precisely. True self-love, And true, mature respect for your friendship means being radically honest before this anger takes root.
How do we do that?
It means saying right at the beginning when the second request comes in, I can look at the cover letter for 20 minutes, but then I need to stop to cook dinner and clean my apartment. Or if you are too overwhelmed with your own life to help at all, saying, I care about you and I really want you to get this job, but my plate is completely full this weekend and I can't take this on.
Kind, but clear. I love that framework. You aren't being mean. You aren't being selfish in the negative sense of taking from them. You are just stating reality. Which leads us to our next set of advanced vocabulary. We need to accurately name that dark, creeping feeling of quiet blame. And the C1 level word for that is resentment.
Resentment. If we look at the etymology, the prefix "r" means again, and sentire means to feel. Resentment literally means feeling the injury again and again.
Wow, feeling it again and again.
This is a crucial word for C1 learners to distinguish from simple anger. Anger is an acute, quick flash of emotion. Someone cuts you off in traffic, your amygdala fires, you feel a spike of anger, and then it passes.
Right.
Resentment, however, is a chronic slow burn. It is the complex emotion that builds slowly over weeks or months when you repeatedly accept situations you perceive as unfair, especially when your own honest communication is missing.
Resentment is like rust on a car. It happens slowly, silently, underneath the paint, until one day you close the door and the whole door falls off. The friendship just shatters over something seemingly tiny because the rust has been building for years.
A perfect mechanistic analogy. And the antidote to this rust is our next B2 word, self-respect. We touched on this earlier, but let us define it clearly in this context.
Let's hear it.
Self-respect means treating your own time and energy as finite, valuable resources. It is utilizing that golden rule we discussed earlier, but reversing it. Asking yourself, would I let my best friend be treated this way? Would I let someone demand my friend give up their entire Saturday to write a resume?
Definitely not.
If the answer is an immediate no, you shouldn't let someone treat you like that either.
And to manage these situations professionally and personally, we need a great phrasal verb. You used it a moment ago, take this on.
Yes, to take something on. This means to accept a task, a responsibility, or an emotional burden. I want you to imagine responsibilities as physical weights, like heavy, concrete boxes.
Okay, heavy boxes.
When you take something on, you are literally picking up that heavy box and carrying it on your shoulders. Before you say yes, you have to realistically assess your physical and emotional strength and ask, do I have the capacity to carry this extra box today without collapsing?
Let's do our third sentence upgrade. A learner might feel that rust of resentment building, realize they are carrying too many boxes, and say, I feel angry because I always say yes. It's functionally true, but we can make it sound so much more articulate and introspective.
We want to incorporate our new C1 vocabulary to express the exact psychological nature of that anger, showing that we understand our own role in the dynamic.
Transform your English by saying, I feel resentful because I keep saying yes when I want to say no. Notice how that takes accountability. Or, for an even more professional, reflective phrase, one that is incredible for the workplace, try, resentment is building because I haven't been honest about my limits.
Honest about my limits. That phrasing is exceptionally powerful in corporate settings. It reframes a no from a refusal of work into a responsible management of resources.
Let's practice this with a role play. We are going to practice setting an everyday boundary before the rust of resentment can even start forming.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's say we started off chatting about the weather, as we do, and then I transition into asking for a massive favor. I will play the friend who keeps asking for more, and you, the expert, will demonstrate setting a time limit using our new mindset.
Let's do it.
Man, it is so hot outside today, I can barely focus. But anyway, thanks so much for agreeing to help me practice my English conversation today in the air conditioning.
It really is sweltering out there. And of course, I am always happy to help you practice.
Awesome. So I have this list of 50 advanced idioms I want to go through, and then maybe we can read a full news article together and debate it, and then maybe you can check my pronunciation on this 5-page essay I wrote. Is that okay?
It is fantastic that you are so dedicated to study, and I admire your ambition. I really want to help you, but I realistically can't take all of this on today. I have about 30 minutes right now before I need to start my own work. Let's pick the 10 most important idioms on your list and focus all our energy just on those for our 30 minutes.
Wow. If I'm the friend in that scenario, I feel respected because you praised my dedication, but I also clearly know exactly where your limits are.
Exactly.
You didn't reject me. You didn't say no to helping entirely. You just said no to my unrealistic expectation. You didn't let the resentment build.
I protected my time, and by doing so, I protected our relationship from future quiet blame.
Brilliant. Now, listeners, if you are somewhere you can speak out loud, take a second. Let's do a pause break. Stand tall, take a deep breath, and let's practice declaring our limits. Say this phrase out loud. I feel resentful because I keep saying yes.
Let that sink in.
And now try the more professional variation. Repeat after me. Resentment is building because I haven't been honest about my limits. You are diagnosing the problem like a surgeon.
You are moving from a state of victimhood into a state of agency.
No, setting boundaries is incredibly hard. And let's be honest with each other. Sometimes we fail.
Oh, frequently.
Sometimes we know the rules, we know the psychology, we know the vocabulary, and we still make mistakes. We still panic and say yes to the tired dinner. When we fail, how do we speak to ourselves? In the past, I used to say I felt like a confused sandwich.
A confused sandwich. You brought this phrase up in our prep notes. What exactly does that mean?
Well, for a long time, I thought self-love was this shiny, perfect, flawless thing. I thought it meant looking in the mirror every single morning and shouting, I am amazing! I am unstoppable! I make perfect decisions!
Which is very popular on the internet right now.
It is! And honestly, that toxic positivity approach is exhausting because some days I don't feel amazing. Some days I agree to a dinner I don't want to go to, I stress over a cool text for 3 hours, and I take on too many favors.
We all have those days.
On those days, my life feels messy. I feel unorganized. I feel like my thoughts are just thrown together randomly, like a confused sandwich, just a bunch of weird ingredients squished together that don't make any logical sense.
I appreciate the humor in the imagery, but let us upgrade the metaphor to something a bit more precise regarding cognitive function. What you are describing is a system overload. Instead of a confused sandwich, think of your brain's inner critic as a poorly coded firewall on a computer.
Oh, I like this. Explain the poorly coded firewall.
A firewall is designed to protect an operating system from external threats, like viruses. Your inner critic developed in childhood to protect you from the threat of making mistakes or being rejected by society. It wants to keep you safe.
Okay, so it has a good purpose.
It does. However, the coding is terribly aggressive. So when you make a simple error like failing to set a boundary, this poorly coded firewall doesn't just block the error, it crashes the entire operating system.
Oh, I know that feeling.
It sends warning messages like, you are a total failure, you are completely incompetent. It is trying to protect you from future mistakes by punishing you, but it's so harsh it just shuts you down completely.
That makes so much sense. My inner critic thinks it's helping me by screaming at me. It thinks if I call him an idiot, he won't make this mistake again. But in reality, it just drains my energy and crashes my system. So how do we rewrite the code of that firewall? How do we reframe self-love for the messy days?
We must reframe self-love not as a state of perfect, unwavering confidence, but as the act of staying with yourself as an ally when things are not perfect.
Staying as an ally.
Yes. It is exceptionally easy to love yourself when you get a massive promotion at work or score a perfect 100 on an English exam. But can you love yourself when you fail, when your boundaries collapse? Harsh words from your internal firewall don't make you stronger. They literally make you smaller.
They shrink you.
They shrink your capacity to take risks. If you are behind on your English studies, your harsh voice says you are lazy. But a self-loving voice says you aren't lazy, you are just moving at your own pace today and the system needs a reboot.
This brings us to a beautiful, essential B2C1 vocabulary word. It is the ultimate patch for that poorly coded firewall. The word is compassion.
Compassion. Let us look at the etymology because it is profound. It comes from the Latin com, meaning with, and pati, meaning to suffer. So compassion literally translates to suffering with someone.
Suffering with, that's deep.
It means showing deep kindness, understanding, and empathy for someone who is struggling. If you see a small child drop their ice cream cone on the sidewalk and start crying, your heart naturally hurts for them. That feeling is compassion. You don't yell at the child, you kneel down and comfort them.
And the ultimate difficult goal here is self-compassion. Taking that exact same instinctive kindness you have for the crying child and directing it inward to yourself when you drop the metaphorical ice cream cone of life. For example, using it in a sentence, I am feeling overwhelmed and I need to show myself some compassion today.
It is the cognitive recognition that suffering, failing, and making mistakes are non-negotiable parts of the shared human experience. You are not fundamentally broken because you messed up. You are simply human.
Let's upgrade our sentences to reflect this profound emotional maturity. A student experiencing failure might say, "I should not hate myself when I make mistakes." This is true, the sentiment is correct, but the word hate is incredibly heavy, and the entire phrasing is focused on the negative action. We want to pivot our language to the positive, constructive action.
Precisely. We transform the negative "I should not hate myself" into our sophisticated C1 variations that actively build new neural pathways.
Try saying this. "I'm learning to show myself compassion when I make mistakes." Beautiful, right? Or my absolute personal favorite, a sentence that balances growth with grace. "I can be kind to myself and still learn from my mistakes."
That second option is brilliant because it addresses a very specific fear people have.
What fear is that?
Many high achievers believe that if they are nice to themselves, they will lose their edge. They think self-compassion equals laziness. But that phrase asserts that you can learn, improve, and be kind simultaneously. They are not mutually exclusive concepts. In fact, studies show self-compassionate people bounce back from failure much faster.
So listeners, let's practice this. It's time for another pause break. Imagine you were speaking to a dear friend who just made a mistake, but you are saying these words to yourself. Test out the feeling of the phrase out loud. "I'm learning to show myself compassion when I make mistakes."
Notice how your shoulders drop when you say that.
Let's try the second one. Feel the permission it gives you. Say, "I can be kind to myself and still learn from my mistakes."
It is a radical shift in internal dialogue.
We've covered so much ground. We've learned how to protect our physical energy from the tired dinner mistake. We know how to disconnect from the approval trap of texting. We know how to avoid the favor trap by setting honest limits. And we know how to forgive our mistakes with self-compassion.
It's a comprehensive toolkit.
But to bring this all together, there is one final, incredibly powerful image we need to discuss. Imagine you are hosting a grand, elaborate dinner party, serving a feast to everyone you love. But what is on your own plate?
This is where we confront the stark reality of emotional nourishment and the martyrdom of overgiving.
Let's paint the picture vividly. You decide to throw a huge dinner party. You wake up at 6 a.m., you go to the busy market, you spend hours meticulously chopping vegetables, you roast a beautiful chicken, you bake fresh, complicated bread from scratch, you set the large dining table with fine china and beautiful flowers.
It's a tremendous amount of effort.
Finally, the doorbell rings. Your family arrives, your friends arrive, your colleagues arrive. You spend the next 3 hours running around the dining room, filling everyone's wine glass, serving them huge, steaming plates of delicious food. Everyone is eating, laughing, having a wonderful, nourishing time.
Sounds lovely for the guests.
But then there is a quiet moment. You look down at your own hands. You don't have a plate. You have spent all day expending massive amounts of energy cooking and serving everyone else. But if you don't physically sit down, get a plate, and serve yourself some of that food, you will still starve.
It is a stark and deeply uncomfortable visual for many people. You can successfully feed everyone else in your life and still be fundamentally starving.
And we aren't just talking about physical calories and roasted chicken here, are we?
No, we are translating this analogy to the concept of emotional hunger. In our daily lives, people, especially kind, highly empathetic people who are desperately trying to be good friends, good employees, and good family members, dispense comfort, patience, time, and support to everyone around them like a never-ending buffet.
They really do.
They listen to their friends' dramatic problems for hours. They stay late at the office to help a coworker finish a presentation. They relentlessly organize their family's chaotic schedule.
They are constantly, endlessly serving the emotional feast.
Precisely. But they give absolutely none of that comfort, none of that patience, and none of that time to themselves. If you ask them, they will tell you that their family is their highest priority. Their work is a priority. Their friends are priorities. But they tragically, routinely forget that they belong on that very same list of priorities.
If you don't actively put yourself on the list, you starve emotionally. Loving yourself means stopping the dinner party for a second, looking at your empty hands and asking yourself a very brave, very vulnerable question. Where am I hungry in my life right now?
That is a profound diagnostic question for self-reflection. Where am I hungry? Are you hungry for simple physical rest? Are you hungry for quiet time, away from the noise and demands of other people? Are you hungry for an honest, vulnerable conversation where you don't have to pretend everything is perfect?
This brings us to our final B2 vocabulary word, which is the operational mechanism for fixing this emotional hunger. The word is priority.
Priority. A priority is something or someone that is considered more important than other things, and therefore must be dealt with first. But I want to elevate how we think about this word. Most people use it as a static noun, but priority must be treated as a verb, an action.
Ooh, I like that. An action.
It is something you actively choose to give your finite time, your energy, and your attention to, often at the expense of something else.
That's so true. Everyone says, my health is a priority. But if they never sleep, never exercise, and eat terrible food while working 80 hours a week, their health is not a priority. It is just a pleasant wish.
Exactly.
A priority requires sacrifice and action. Putting yourself on the dinner plate means making yourself an active priority.
It means acknowledging the biological reality that you cannot sustainably give to others if your own internal reserves are completely depleted.
Let's look at our final sentence upgrades to express this deep, holistic understanding. A learner might say something simple like, I am also important. Again, it's cute, but it's basic. We need to sound like absolute masters of our own emotional landscape.
We elevate the simple, I am also important, to a definitive statement of value. My needs matter too. Or actively utilizing our new vocabulary word, I'm learning to make myself a priority.
And for the ultimate C1 level expression of philosophical balance, when a student wants to communicate, I love people, but I don't want to lose myself, here are the profound upgrades. Listen closely to the nuance here. I can care about others without abandoning myself.
That sentence is masterful. It perfectly balances profound empathy with necessary self-preservation. It rejects the false dichotomy that you must choose between being selfish or being a martyr.
Or, if you want something even more poetic and striking, I can be kind to people without being cruel to myself.
That is a brilliant juxtaposition. It highlights that excessive kindness outward often demands an invisible cruelty inward.
Listeners, wherever you are, these are big, important, life-altering sentences. Let's do one last pause break. Say them with conviction right now out loud. Let your brain hear you claim this space. Say, my needs matter too.
Let it sink in.
Try the action-oriented one. I'm learning to make myself a priority. And finally, that profound statement of balance. Say, I can care about others without abandoning myself.
You are rewriting the script of how you interact with the world.
So how do we tie all of this incredible vocabulary, these deep psychological mechanisms, and these boundary-setting skills together into our fast-paced daily lives? Stick around because we have a special bonus phrase coming up that will change how you text people forever.
Before we deliver the bonus, let us systematically consolidate our learning. We have traversed a significant emotional, biological, and linguistic landscape during our time today.
We really have.
We explored 6 critical words. Neglect, the act of chronically ignoring your own needs. Approval, the dangerous neurologically driven desire for external validation. Abandoning yourself, leaving your own emotional truth behind to pacify others.
A very dangerous habit.
Indeed. Then, resentment, the slow-building toxic anger caused by uncommunicated limits. Compassion, extending grace and understanding to yourself when the firewall crashes. And priority, actively giving time and attention to what matters, including your own well-being.
It's an amazing toolkit. And as promised, here is your bonus. This is your reward for staying with us, diving deep, and engaging with the material until the end of this session.
It's a very practical tool.
We talked extensively about the crushing anxiety of texting earlier, the dopamine drops, the panic. Next time you receive a message, maybe it's a request for a massive favor or a complicated, dramatic question from a friend, and you feel that immediate chest-tightening, amygdala hijacking pressure to reply right this exact second out of fear. I want you to use this golden rule.
It's a lifesaver.
It is a simple phrase you can whisper to yourself or even physically text back to the person, I can care and still take time.
I can care and still take time. It is so elegant because it shatters the false modern connection between speed and affection. You do not have to answer a text within 30 seconds to prove you are a loyal friend.
You can literally text back, hey, I care about this a lot, but I need some time to think before I reply fully. It is absolutely life-changing. It gives you space to breathe.
It absolutely does.
Now, I have a mission for you, our dedicated listener. I want you to go down to the comment box right now and write this exact phrase. I am consistent. Let us know you finished the entire deep dive. Prove to yourself that you are dedicated to your learning journey.
We love seeing those comments.
Also, while you are there, answer this question in the comments. Which of today's 6 key words or idioms was your absolute favorite? Which one gave you an aha moment? Write it down. Typing it out physically helps lock it into your long-term memory.
We deeply value your input. We read everything. We want your feedback. What kind of topic do you want for the next session? What specific areas of English vocabulary or daily psychological challenges do you find difficult to articulate? Let us know so we can custom tailor our guides for you.
If you found value in this deep dive, please show us some love. Smash that like button, share this audio with a friend who might be chronically trapped in the tired dinner mistake, and subscribe.
Please do.
And again, if you want to read that free, deeply researched article about English we mentioned earlier, go to the description box, click the link, and subscribe to get it in your email for free every single time. And if you enjoyed our time today, there are many more deep dives on my channel. Go check them out and binge watch your favorites to keep leveling up your advanced listening practice. The more you surround yourself with these discussions, the more natural these advanced structures will feel in your own mouth.
As we conclude our exploration today, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over. Think about your calendar for tomorrow. Look at all the tasks, the meetings, the favors you've promised to do, the text messages you feel heavily obligated to send. Run your eyes down that list. Now ask yourself, if you treated yourself like an honored, beloved guest in your own life, what is one thing you would immediately cross off that list?
Find that one thing. Cross it off with a thick black pen. Stop abandoning yourself. Until next time, keep practicing, keep speaking out loud, and please don't forget to serve yourself a plate at the dinner party.